In Timor-Leste, we work with communities that are coastal and communities that are located up in the mountains, predominantly in rural areas, which is about half of the country. Water is a particular concern when it comes to climate change, and with longer dry seasons, people just don't have access to water, which is a huge issue, not just for their personal hygiene and ability to cook and clean at home, but it impacts agriculture, it impacts other industries as well. I think with the climate crisis that's happening now, the biggest impact is the reduced amount of water available. Communities up in the mountains, they generally have a spring supply, and organisations like Water Aid and Plan that we partner with supply infrastructure to access that water supply for the community. Now those water supplies are often running dry, so there's no water to feed into that existing infrastructure, and communities have to go and find alternate sources. Even in Dili or in low-lying areas where communities access from the groundwater table, this year the dry season has been so long that the groundwater table is actually dropping, and those communities also don't have access to water. They're forced to go and find surface water supplies which are unsafe. When EWB partners with these communities to tackle challenges, any challenge, but also challenges around climate change, the first thing we do is to work very closely with the people in that community to understand from their perspective what the issues are and what the opportunities might be within that community. Often the communities we work with in Timor-Leste don't have access to the technical expertise to meet the needs that they can identify within their community. So EWB's role can be to supply that technical input or to link communities up with the technical input required. But the development of solutions to the issues that are identified are always still driven from within the community themselves. So in Timor-Leste, historically there haven't been a great impact from hurricanes or extreme weather events. In the last few years, there's been a much greater increase in those high wind events. When it comes to the impact of these hurricanes and other extreme weather events, infrastructure hasn't been built. So particularly houses in communities or community buildings haven't been built to withstand those extreme weather events. It means that particularly roofing isn't restrained properly, or walls are not built with the structure required to withstand the extreme forces, and it means that infrastructure is vulnerable to damage. There's space for EWB to work in making infrastructure, water systems and other essential services within communities, making them more resilient to climate change in the future. And it's not necessarily always a technical solution. I think EWB has strong skills in the interface between social and technical, and that's where our strength really lies, to find solutions to these complex problems. So water is such a fundamental part of every person and the existence of every community. If we had unlimited funding at EWB in Timor-Leste, that would be one of our major focus areas to start with. And it's not just about ensuring people have access to water, it's ensuring that people have good quality water and that they have the skills and capacity necessary to sustainably manage the infrastructure required to continue that supply.